Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good evening.
Hi,
Hi, everybody.
everyone.
It's great to be back, online. We are, as traditionally, broadcasting on LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live. So it would be great if you can put in your comments, then you can see us and you can, hear us,
We've
right?
already got our first comment, our number one fan.
Except so from Finland, yeah. Mika. Mika, can you put in the comments because on our side, for some reason we see our, pictures. The screen is smaller than usually, so it would be interesting. I will check on LinkedIn what you guys see on LinkedIn.
Did we get a little shrunk this time? Maybe we have to figure out some
I
difference
don't
in
know.
settings.
I don't know. Yeah.
And
Would
while
be
you're checking, I'll tell everyone greetings from Tuscany.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm here in Italy celebrating my 11-year wedding anniversary with my husband.
Wow.
Yes. So we were actually scheduled to come here last year to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. And as we get in the car to drive down, we get a phone call from Oma, which is our grandma, my
Yeah.
husband's mother. And she says, "Oh, your daughter has COVID." So we turned the car back
Okay.
around and we went home. And so this year now we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary plus one for good luck.
No, the pictures are smaller, and I know why it's smaller. I will fix it. I see it now.
All right.
Sometimes you don't see you don't see what is happening, below your tree, basically. Now it should be
Et
now it should be the
voila.
same size. And I will, check it also on the LinkedIn. It should be okay. Okay, fix it.
Everyone
I fixed it.
watching, you're watching
Actually, that
brilliance
was
in
for the
action.
different, screen resolution. Okay, we just did it. So okay, guys,
Good.
we have very interesting theme today about self-confidence. And Lisa, as always, she put it a little bit in controversial, way, which I like really.
I like to spice things
So
up.
maybe Lisa, you wanted to kick it off and frame, discussion for today.
I do, because there's so much we can talk about with self-confidence. Like an hour is not even going to be enough. But here's the thing, that I am an American. So every American knows, we are told the American dream is real. You can be anything you want. Don't limit yourself. Dream big. You can achieve anything and everything. Believe in yourself. And it is a lie. It is absolutely wrong. And I think a lot of people get crushed at a certain point when they realize I can't be anything. So I want to put that into context. For example, for those of you who haven't seen me, I'm quite short. I will never be a basketball player. It does not matter how much grit I have. It does not matter how much determination I have. I am just not going to be as good as someone who is naturally taller or naturally more athletic. So what we don't want to encourage is you can be anything, because that leads to self-blame. If only I had worked harder or done something different, it's my fault. That is actually the killer of self-confidence. But you should have self-confidence enough to go for your dreams, go for what interests you, where your strengths lie. So what that means is you have enough self-confidence to believe I can succeed in something, not in anything, not in everything. Don't be a perfectionist, but I can be successful and succeed in something. And I have the self-confidence and belief to go there. I'm going to dive a lot more into that throughout today's session. But Jan, what goes through your mind when we talk about self-confidence and results?
My experience both from business and sport is following. A lot of people think that self-confidence means automatically winning, succeeding, and so on. Okay. Lisa?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you were like still, so I was like wondering, okay, everything fine in Tuscany.
I'm
Okay.
playing statue.
Anyway, and that's wrong, because what self-confidence does for you, self-confidence can ensure that you in that particular moment are best version of yourself. You perform at your best. Self-confidence cannot guarantee that your opponent or people at the market are not better than you. No, that's why, if you talk about self-confidence, that's why Stoics in old Greece, they were saying you should concentrate on things you can control, you can really, change, you can manage. You cannot manage the performance of the other, people, the other team or other, organization. Not at all. Okay. So why self-confidence can ensure you the best performance in this particular moment? Because if you are self-confident, chances are that you will be like 100% concentrated in the present moment, whatever you do, whether you are singer, businessman, athlete, doesn't matter. And if we are concentrated, if we are in the present moment, then and only then we can use in the best way what we learned in the past, basically. Otherwise, there's no way you can, take from your subconsciousness, from your long-term memory, what you learn. That's why still self-confidence is very important, but self-confidence doesn't mean, that doesn't, guarantee any results. Okay. And there is a confusion because people think if you are self-confident, then you perform well. It's true, you perform well on your kind of the conditions, but not necessarily on the conditions of the total game or the other people. There's a huge difference between results and performance. Okay, what we know, uh human beings which are like 100%, I need to have a great results, it's called fixed mindset. And they are pretty much like binary. I win or I'm loser. I win or I'm loser. There's nothing in between. There's always something in between. Okay. And if you have a mindset like that, you are like, hey, you try to be perfectionist. There's nothing perfect. Perfectionism is very different from excellence. If you want to be excellent, that means that you are in that particular moment, in that particular stage in your life, in that particular personal development, you are at your best. This is it. That's excellence. Right? And what we know from neuroscientists, if people are concentrating on the results, whenever they succeed, your brain would create like dopamine spike, but then it goes down. Dopamine spike, it goes down, and it's almost like drug. Okay, but once you are not succeeding, the dopamine line, the baseline, goes down. And dopamine is a reward hormone, but it's also motivational hormone. That's why those people very often, they are losing motivation and they are dropping that activity, like giving up, whatever. On the other hand, if you are concentrated on your performance, on the path to the results, okay, then it's called growth mindset, which means like you try to be better version of yourself, like every day you go like step by step. Lisa put there great thing, like you learning, you stretching yourself out of your comfort zone, you are growing, because performance consists of one present moment after the other. Okay.
Yes.
And if you are really concentrated on those present moments, you are concentrated in totality, and then you perform very well. Okay. And what we know from, again, neuroscientists, that if you have a growth mindset, there are no spikes of dopamine, but the dopamine is moving step by step, slower, in a slower way, but step by step, up, because you are like, growing, and you are no more like dependent on the results. It's great if you are winning, but those people are usually saying, I'm succeeding or I'm learning something new. Okay. There's no like, I'm not defended in fact, right? Because there is a I'm winning, there's a win, or I'm learning. And I think people are really very much confusing that self-confidence is about results. Self-confidence cannot ensure results. The good results can be ensured by great performance, and you need to be, if you compete with somebody, you need to try to be better version of yourself every day, and you need to be better than the other people. That's for sure, right? On the other hand, if you concentrate on that performance, you are not only motivated, but you can still say, hey, I'm after the results, that's fine, but you are inspired and you will stay with that activity for the longer time. That's the difference between motivation and inspiration. Because if some athlete is coming to me, hey, my meaning in my life is to win Olympic Games, that's a bullshit bingo. It's a result driven meaning. There is no meaning. Meaning is always, something which is like continuation. Meaning is always process. And I'll tell you, why. Because the happiest people with the strongest meaning, okay, are those who can make happy other people through activity they love, through their, meaning. And it's a process. It's not definitely like, now once I will, I win Olympic Games, I will be happy from that moment on. No, it is. Yeah.
I want to add in here because it's such an important part to self-confidence. So many people think, well, I'll prove I'm good enough because of a result, and then I'll have my self-confidence, by the way. Even if you win the Olympics, you still the next day wake up and say, oh, I have to prove myself again, right? So there's never a point where you arrive because of external results. Now I'm self-confident. And it shouldn't be the goal either. And I think you've highlighted that so nicely in everything that you've shared.
It is absolutely fine to win many times Olympic Games, whatever are your Olympic Games, right? But it should not be the meaning. The meaning is the way. That's why Chinese, our predecessors were not stupid. They were very smart. There is a Chinese proverb that the journey is more important than the goal, basically, right? And the end of the finish of the journey. And it's true, because if you like process, the chances are that you will repeat your success, because you will say, hey, I can do more, right? Give you one example. I have a great handball player. She is a captain of the Czech national team. Veronika Mala is the name. She's fantastic. Now again, she's playing in Bundesliga in Germany. She's one of the best in the world, basically, right? And last year she won Bundesliga, Cup, Super Cup, and European Cup. And we were talking. She came to me and said, Jan, what should be my goal for this year? It's hard to be, even better. And we talked exactly about it. And she said, you are absolutely right. I love handball. It's not about the cups. I like cups. It's great to be with the cups, but I like handball. I like the process. And she can play it, forever, not forever, but for a very long time if she likes what she's doing,
And Jan, this is the big key for everyone to take home. So if you're washing the dishes or reading an email while you're listening, pause for a second and listen. The whole point of everything, where you will get real confidence, how you will sustain real confidence, how you'll sustain happiness and those dopamine levels, is that the focus isn't on a result. It isn't on something external. It isn't at a destination you arrive at. It's the journey. And it's the journey of constantly learning, developing, growing better, having this growth mindset. What do I learn? What do I achieve next year? No, what am I going to learn next year? What am I curious about? What am I interested about? Where can I get an even better technique for my backhand, right? It's that love of growth, of being your best self, of excellent. That is where you will find true self-confidence, because Jan said, it's like a great, I think the front desk is calling. It's a great way to get to us, is to say, like, how do I be the best version of myself today? And if you make a mistake, great, then I learned something. So it's still adding. It doesn't pull down or take away your self-confidence. You're still growing. Great, because I'm learning. That's the goal. That's where I'm going to end up. And Milan says, yes, exactly. Thank you.
Guys, be so kind. If you have some questions, comments, whatever, put it there, because it's taking time, like 1 or 2 minutes before it's showing up in what we see, right? So feel free. Now let's talk a little bit. What exactly are the key drivers for self-confidence? And then we can give you some tips and tricks, and you can share with us whatever is your experience, right? So self-confidence, okay, look, self-confidence, like confidence, I mean, if I will, trust Lisa, it's about the trust. If I will trust Lisa, then that means that we would need to know each other. Otherwise, it's hard, right, to say, hey, if Lisa would say, hey, I need like 10,000 euros, I'll now, because I know her, I'll say, okay, here we go, right? You have it.
Is that all it takes, Jan?
If you would meet me in Zurich at the, railway station, I would say, I don't know you, right? And that's why self-confidence is about self-awareness. First of all, if you want to believe in yourself, you need to understand who you are on one side and who you are not. What are your talents and strengths, and what are your deficiencies? What are your, weaknesses? Because you would need to know. For me, I'm like 100% on the model. I use, and I was in my career, I use always majority of the time my talents, and whatever are my weaknesses, it was covered by some other people in my team. And I know my weakness is, for example, details. I can do a lot of details, but it's taking energy from me. So it's easier. I'm great in strategy, in vision and stuff, like in communication and stuff like that. So it's better to use me in that way and have somebody who is complementary to me in that sense. Okay. So once you are self-aware, that's where, self-confidence is starting. Otherwise, if you don't understand who you are, it's hard to be self-confident, because then what will happen, if you don't understand who you are, you will be in some situations and you may say, hey, it's easy, everybody can do it, right? But how about if that particular skill is your weakness and you are not aware of that? Because we have it's called blind spots. Okay, we don't see things which other people can see, and it's both on the positive side or on the negative side. Okay, give you an example. If you will be like very empathical person, but you are living with somebody who is super empathical, you feel like I'm not empathical, but it's not true, because you need to compare yourself to the rest of the population and not to your partner who is, really like fanatically empathical, right? Fanatically empathical. It's an interesting term. Okay, so that's one, point. It's about self-awareness. And unfortunately, I put on Instagram, it was in Czech, it was not in English, but I put there some posts that we learn in the schools a lot of things about a lot of people. We are quite knowledgeable about the other people, but school is not giving you enough knowledge about you. You are not learning about who you are. And that's the real problem. Because a lot of people are saying, hey, I want to be more self-confident. That's fine, but it starts really with self-awareness. Because if you know, because I tell you how it works in your brain, okay? The talents you have are basically hardly wired in your brain, all of those activities. Because if you have some talent, the skill equals talent multiplied by repetition, how many times you use the talent. Okay, easy as it is. If you have like strategic thinking, it's about strategic thinking multiplied by the project situations you use the talent. Okay, and once you use it very often, those synapses are connections connecting your neurons, are very strong, and so-called myelins are created. And then you can do that activity. You can be strategic even during tough situations, and you are very fast with some strategic decisions because you are equipped like that. It goes like that. It is about the synaptical maps you have in your brain. But you, first of all, you need to understand what are basically talents I should develop. You need to be self-aware of your talents. Unless you understand that, maybe you are developing some stuff which is not your talent, and it will go forever. Talents are developed in a very fast way like that. And the kids, if we all were like small kids, you were aware of your talents. Not that you would be that smart. Hey, this is my talent. I'm strategic thinker. If you are like 6 months old, no. That will work like that. But the kids know what kind of the activities are giving them energy and what kind of activities are getting energy from them. That's why they play with the toys they like, and that's why they are developing fast. But then school, once they are 6 years old, school is putting them in the boxes, and school is not about like developing new skills and stuff like that. There are some new skills, don't take me wrong, but school is rather trying to answer questions. But the kids are, if you are small, you are creating a lot of new questions. That's about creativity. Because if you wanted to be creative, guys, and everybody's saying in all corporations, we need more creative people, more involved. It's all about agility and stuff like that. It's all bullshit bingo. Unless your people are curious. Creativity is about curiosity. You need to ask a lot of questions and ask in the school or in some big corporation, can we do it differently? Majority of the time you will have a question, no, this is the way we do it here.
Yes.
This is the way we do it. Let's continue like that, And then somebody more flexible with more questions will come. It's called, disruption, usually technology disruption, and it's changing the rules of the game, basically, right? And I think this is the major issue. But there are some, objective reasons for that. Because your brain likes very much, it's called homeostasis. You learn something new, and then you like to be in the comfort zone. Use what you have and not going out of the comfort zone. It's called homeostasis. You need to be aware of that. You need to be really like religious about, asking new questions, reading new stuff and stuff like that, totally out of your field. That's the way how you can develop this, curiosity. And curiosity is driving, it's like great against stress or fear. And it's, you have stress and fear, and on the other hand you have a self-confidence. So it's improving your self-confidence. Absolutely.
All of this sort of weighs together, Jan, you've been doing such a great job of speaking about the brain, because so many of us think, I control my brain, but actually your brain works in ways that most of the time you're not really in control of it, but better to know how it works so you can, play with the system. And I did this earlier because this back here is where our fight or flight mode is, where we protect ourselves, right? And when we think, I can't take a risk, I can't be curious, I can't be innovative, I have to protect. So we hold small. When we can get into that self-confidence mode, I'm curious, I want to learn, I think I can do better. Not I have to prove, I have to get results, I have to impress people. But I'm open, I'm curious, I'm ready to learn. That's here, that prefrontal cortex. That is where the magic happens. This is where your energy is ignited, your most creative, most rational, most intelligent part of yourself lives. So if you give yourself the benefit of the doubt and you always tell yourself, I have the self-confidence, not that I'm the best at it, not that I can produce the best results right now, but that I have a lot to offer and a lot to learn. And we always tap into this part of the brain instead of this part of the brain. That's when you start to see the momentum, right?
Yeah.
And we've got something from Mika.
There is from Mika. We can, put it on. Yeah. Lisa described a common thing which happens a lot during music competitions as AGT voice, fake hope given from the closest people to unreal dreams or big ego. Can't sing, you won't be a singer. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, what Lisa talked about, everybody in our, brains, we have a monkey, very naughty monkey, very fast monkey, jumping from one thing to the other, and we have a professor. Professor is smart, but very slow. Monkey is relatively stupid, but very fast. Monkey is 5 to 10 times faster than professor. Okay. Now, monkey on the agenda is your survival. That's monkey is saying, fuck you. I don't care about, success or about winning or whatever, I will just highlight for you where you can, basically screw up the things, where you can fail and stuff like that. Monkey thinks that each and every, impulse and each and every thought is a fact. It's a true, which is not true. Absolutely not true. It's a majority of the thoughts are just the thought, are not the facts. On the other hand, professor knows, hey, it's just the thought, and I need to figure out whether it's a fact. Okay. Now, what you can do, because normally what monkey is doing, professor is saying something, but monkey is saying, fuck you, and jumping, one thing to the other. What you can do, stop to feed your monkey. What will monkey do? Will ask, hey, professor, give me banana or something. Right? Don't feel now. I'll tell you what I mean. There's a huge difference. If you will agree with your monkey, you will say, I am fearful. I am really, or I'm doubtful. I have some doubts about, me. Okay. That means that you basically are saying, I'm giving up my professor, brain, my neocortex. And basically, I'm, giving a lot of power to monkey. And your monkey will create a whole story why it's true. And you will start to believe something which is not true at all. But it's a monkey. You will believe it. If you will say, I observe my fear, that means that your professor is watching what monkey wants to do and what professor will do, because professors are asking a lot of questions, are asking, is it scientific? Is it really true? So professor will ask, what is the trigger of this thought? Is this thought really true? And majority of the thoughts which are created by, by monkey or highlighted by monkey are not true. And this is the way, I mean, all methods, if you think about psychotherapy, it's all driven by like strengthening your logical part of the brain and weakening amygdala. Amygdala is good, provided that it's under the control. Otherwise, Buddha was saying, your mind, you control your mind, or your mind is controlling you. There's nothing in between. It is like that, because if you are not able to control your amygdala, then the amygdala is controlling you, and it's hard for you, for example, if you are provoked, to stay cool. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. That's why I just gave a training on Friday about feedback and creating a feedback culture for one of the major consulting firms. And you know how hard it is, because they're all so used to constantly being told, hey, you did this wrong. Hey, you didn't get this. And I said, hey, you should have feedback 4-1 with positive feedback, and not great job, but hey, in the meeting, you came prepared and the client felt this, and thank you. Please keep up all of the preparation work that you've done. And they were like, what? We're supposed to do that? We're not supposed to only focus on mistakes and what we've done wrong? No, this is why when we're lacking self-confidence, so many people come in secret. And I'm talking CEOs, male, female, doesn't matter, European, Asian, American, doesn't matter. They come in secret and they talk about imposter syndrome. I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I have self-confidence, because they're looking to others. They're listening to this fear part of the brain where the monkey says, what are other people going to think? You're not going to be successful. And then you go, that's true. It's not true. And you start to believe that.
There is a great comment from our friend Edward Baza from Switzerland. You have to be always aware of your parents. Parents are shaping you significantly. If you don't understand your parents, you don't know yourself. Absolutely true.
So true.
I explain you what it does. If we are really small kids, you believe your parents, like whatever they are saying, it's like, hey, mantra for you, okay? But it's not always, good for you. Okay. There are, people who are, doing a lot of stuff in epigenetics. Epigenetics means that a lot of people think, hey, those are the genes and I need to, it's like blueprint. There's no way I can change it. 95% of the genes are influenced by environment or what you do, what you think, and so on. In a way, epigenetics means like above genetics. You can influence how your brain is wired. Okay. Edward is right that, people are saying that 70% of the programs which are created by the parents in your brain are not necessarily positive for you. Okay. And you need to be aware of that, number one. And you need to watch also, it's good, absolutely, to watch what your parents are doing, how they behave, especially under the pressure and stuff like that. Okay. My father was like, me, like very pushy guy, stuff like that. Okay. My mother, she is introvert, right? And she's like rather, hey, let's play everything safe, whatever. My mother genes were playing the role till the time I started to play tennis. Once I started to play tennis, it was my like trigger for my brain to change. Since that time, I was like on my own, and my father's genes really won the battle. It's clear, and it is clear. And it doesn't mean that my mother is bad or whatever. I'm just saying what happened and what was triggered by some, event. It was not like one event, it was, more events, but obviously it was driven a lot by sport. Now, guys, I put there some tests, right? I explain you what it does. There is a great psychiatrist in United States, Daniel Amen, right? And Daniel Amen, he got like 125,000 brain scans, and when he works with the patients, he's like looking at the brain scan and trying to understand the story of the patient. Okay, those two things, which is amazing, right? And he created tests. I put it there on the comments. Know your dragons. Based on his knowledge, he created a test which will reveal what are your dragons, driven by your parents, upbringing, right? And it's easy test. It's free. You can do it. It's not very scientific. I mean, it's not that difficult, but it's really like reflecting. It's good to do it. It's improving. I do it in addition to StrengthsFinder. I do it with many of the people I coach, So it's
Yes.
good, and it's really, we forget about it, to be honest. It's really good to think about your upbringing, about your childhood, who were your parents, and how was it, right? Those are parents, but also your classmates and stuff like that, right? That's for sure.
I leaned over to get a book because
Mhm.
Edward, this is my holiday, and on my holiday I read books for work. It's called The
Yeah,
Emotionally Absent Mother. Now, how did I get here? My mother is lovely, by the way. How did I get here? As I started to coach people, I coach business executives. And we talk more and more about how do they lead people? How do they get to connect to people? How do they have relationships? How do they get teamwork? And the more I dig into this, the more it's the psychology, the more that it goes then into therapy territory, because so much of it comes from childhood. Most of the programming in your brain is from childhood, which is mainly mom and dad, right? A bit siblings. And then either if you start a sport or your first job where you start to come into your own and you see, okay, what's around, right? Because we're social creatures. We actually learn from those around us. We don't just learn on our own. So I started to read this for clients because so many clients, the emotionally absent mother, because so many clients react the way that they do, form the relationships the way that they do, lead the way that they do, based on their relationship with their mother. So for those who are always curious, want to go somewhere, have read all the business books you could possibly imagine, I, for years, was going, I grew up in a lovely home. My parents are great, married together, grew up in a safe neighborhood. I have nothing in my childhood I need to dig up. Like, there was nothing wrong with it. And yet, if you don't know your childhood and you don't understand your parents, you don't understand the programming that's within you. You don't understand the programming that's within others. So that is one place I would recommend that even if you're a business leader or in business, start digging. There's so much really, really fascinating information there.
It is. And, since that time, I'm teaching the kids, and we train with Katarina like 8,000 kids already in 5.5, 6 years.
Wow.
I realized that people, are basically adult kids, they behave, it helped me so much, because very often, if you are in the boardroom, there are like groups, I play, on the sand with Joe, and that's why I will vote with the Joe, stuff like that.
Yes.
They really behave like a kids, because we have those
Absolutely.
programs. And we behave, unless you are really like self-aware, I should not do it. It's, right. We behave like that. A lot of people think, if you are in the boardroom of IBM or Microsoft or Google, those are really like smart. People are smart, but very often they decide driven by their emotions as opposed by the logic, and they really sometimes behave like a kid. Not always, but sometimes it's like that. So it's a great, you can actually learn so many things from the kids, because they are like natural, they are authentic, they are always in the present moment, and they ask a lot of smart questions.
Well, the most important part of what you're saying, Jan, we are all humans. So unless you've done the work to do the self-awareness, to learn these tactics, to override the monkey, to figure out where you come from, to figure out who you are, what you're good at, unless you've actively done that work, you're going to operate in the automatic way. And so why are there executives at, like you said, a Google or Dell or wherever, it doesn't matter. It's not based on the company. Unless they've done this work, that's how they're going to react. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing bad with them. That's the normal path. And very, very, very few people ever get to a state where they have this awareness where they can transcend it. It's like 0.01% of the population. We've talked about the 5 stages of adult development by a Harvard professor, Bob Keegan. To get to, almost everyone gets past stages 1 and 2. That's mostly childhood. Stage 3 is where most people stay. I just care what other people think, and I do what other people think. Self-confidence will never come at that stage because you're always wondering, it's based on how other people are perceiving you, right? As we get higher in the stages of adult development, we start to self-author. We start to have our own way of doing things, our own way of showing up into the world, our own curiosities, letting go of needing to be perfect. And that's when we can start to tap into our self-confidence and start to get to our full potential.
You said that people usually develop phase 1 and phase 2. I can tell you recently what happened. My mom, she is a former teacher, right? So she asked my wife, and it was about me, obviously. And she said, well, does he behave, now more normally, or is he still that, crazy guy? And my wife said, no. My wife said, no, she will go directly from puberty to dementia. That there is nothing in between with him, Anyway, so guys, one important thing, whatever were programs, some good, some bad, from your, parents or somebody else, you can always change it. A lot of people are saying, I am like that, I'm born like that. This is bullshit bingo, right? Because there is something called neuroplasticity, which is ability of your brain to be rewired, basically. And it's rewired, based on how you think, the environment you are in, people you talk to, and so on. You can really rewire your brain. Even people who really have heard in their childhood, you will achieve, nothing. You are like, loser or whatever, all the time. You can, change it step by step. You will start to believe, hey, it's not true. This was opinion of my parents or somebody else. This was just one opinion, and you just believe in that opinion, and you think it's true. It's not. It is the same thing with your monkey. It's your, monkey. Because logically, if you will figure out, hey, those are, my talents, and you can do something else, you after a couple of months, you will say, hey, this is it. If what I'm saying would not be true, you would not have me today. I would be dead, because 10 years ago when I was depressed, my brain was totally destroyed, right? And with the brain, even though it was destroyed, it can be, rewired. And, once it's rewired, you are, much better off, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
So we talk a lot about self-awareness. There is another thing which, is self-confidence driven through, and it's like how you are able to accept what happened, whether it's positive or negative, what you learn from your past. Okay. Because a lot of people think, hey, if something bad is happening, that will destroy you. It's very far from the truth. I had a privilege. I am in the committee which is choosing. There was a great Jewish writer in Czech Republic, and he passed away. And we every year we are like awarding somebody the award for courage, basically, right? And in the past, very often, 10 years ago, when I started to be part of that committee, we would award somebody who went through 2 or 3 concentration camps, simply, survived such terrific, horrific experience. Those people were usually, 92, 93 years old. So I was asking them, how comes that it was terrible what happened in your life, but you are still relatively, healthy? And you know what they said? If you have a meaning in your life, you can survive a lot of things. Okay. Well, our meaning was to really survive this horrific experience, to return, back. And that's exactly what happened, right? It is about this, driver and the will to survive also, I believe, because they were really like, heroes. Absolutely,
Yeah. Absolutely. And it almost ties back to what Mika said in this note before. Hey, if you can't sing, you won't be a singer. But if you surround yourself by people who say you can and say you're great, you're going to be fooled for a very long time. Well, I want to say the opposite is true. For the most part, what people will do is tell you, you can't, you don't, because their monkey mind, their fear of, who wants to, I'm worried that my daughter is going to want to grow up and be a singer, and she's not going to have a job, and she's not going to, so I'm doing it for her. I love her. I want to keep her safe. Right. But if you have a purpose, if you have a connection, if you want to be, we take singing, let's take Lady Gaga, for example. There was actually a group of people that she went to university with to study. They made a private Facebook group that said, her name is Stephanie. Stephanie sucks and she's never going to be famous. And they just made a group to talk about how awful she was and how she was never going to make it. For most people, you would be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed and ashamed. I should just give up. But when you have that purpose, you can transcend and you can say, it doesn't matter. I need to be a part of it. Now, you're right. Maybe like if I love singing, believe me, I am terrible at singing. It doesn't matter how many lessons I take. I will never be as good as a Lady Gaga. But maybe I then go into producing music, or I find ways to fund Broadway, right? Like there are ways to be with your passion as long as you're not tied to it has to be this one thing. You can take your purpose, take your passion, and find many different routes to fulfilling it. And when you allow yourself to do that, you don't get stuck in what you think you're supposed to do, or your parents pushed you to, or you went to law school and you thought you wanted to be a lawyer. Now you don't, but you already invested so much time and money into being a lawyer. So you'll just stay stuck. All of that stuff, you will never have self-confidence.
There are still a couple of things which are driving your self-confidence, down. The first is FOPO, fear of other. It's more or less what you said, fear of other people's opinion. Okay. But who knows you the best? It's you, right? Fear of other people opinion, it's really driven historically, because in the past, if somebody was like pushed out of the group, that person would not survive. So you feel like, hey, if those people are saying I cannot be a great singer, or I am stupid, or I look, terribly, then you feel like, hey, if I will, push back or whatever, they will push me out of the group and, I will not survive, which is not true. Okay. Right. So FOPO. The best thing for the FOPO basically is that you need to be like realistic where you are good. It's self-awareness where you are good and where you are not good. Okay. And if you are making some mistakes, you can go and publicly admit, hey, this is my mistake. And then there's no FOPO. Who cares? I'm admitted. If they are saying, yeah, you made a mistake, fine. But I was the first who admitted my mistake. FOPO is the first one. Another one is FOMO. Fear of missing out. You try to be part of some bigger group, and it's not always good. You know what? I'm part of different groups, like friendly relationship and so on. But always I feel like, hey, I'm individual, and it's great to be me. Right? And I don't. It's always like, hey, I want to be part of that group, but I don't need to be. Okay, if I will not, and I left many things. I'm not like. I was in many advisory boards and so on. I left it. I don't have a time, and I think I can use my time in a better way. I'm not advising anymore to anybody on educational stuff like that. If they are interested in my thoughts, it's here on internet or in my books. It is really. They tried to hire me recently, like a year ago, to advise to the education minister. I said, I know him. If he wants, he got my number. We can call each other. There are books, fine. And you can spend the time right. So FOMO as the other. You need to really decide where you will put your efforts, your time. And the last one is FOBO, fear of best option. That you are still like wondering, maybe there is a better option for me. There's a better option. You are waiting, and then suddenly you are like 95 years old, okay? Because you were like waiting your whole life and then hoping for better option. It's much better to start to decide and say, hey, I do it. I start here, and you will see, you will learn. Maybe you can do something else. Today, the thing is that if you are able, to really learn like from the best, it can be the best process. And because of the internet, you can learn, so many things. The world is global. I tell you what, Bill Gates was always telling me, he said, Jan, when there were only books, it was money which was bringing like education. If you were born in Africa, okay, the chances were, hey, maybe you've got some, manual job or whatever, but you would not be able to study. Today, because of the internet, even the kids in Africa, there's a lot of like mobile technologies and so on. Yeah. They can, learn a lot, and it's really improving their lives, right? There are some mobile operators I know in Africa. the mobile phones are faster than and so on. No, but yeah,
Yes,
you're smiling, but here is something. It's called leapfrogging. For example, banks in countries like Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary, in those countries are using better technologies than banks in Germany. I tell you why. Because banks in Germany, they used to have this, older technologies, and it's harder for them to use new technologies. We didn't have any technologies, and we started with the very, new technologies. This is the same with the telco operators. That's what I, now it's obviously more or less the same everywhere because it's owned by T-Mobile or whatever, right? But it is like that, yeah.
Yes. So I would love, Jan, before we continue our conversation, to let everyone know who's watching live, if you have a real life question or a statement or something you want to share about self-confidence, please put it into the chat box for us. We're happy to address real-time questions as well if you want to be coached live a little bit. And I think it's really important. We talked a lot about the brain and how to get control of the brain. And what we didn't quite talk about with self-confidence that I feel like is really important. Maybe you've heard this saying, maybe you've seen it, on the wall at a fitness center. If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you're right. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's, if I believe I can, I sit in this part of my brain, I have the confidence. So again, you can give yourself the confidence just by believing, yes, I can do this, I can show up, versus, oh my gosh, I can't, or I don't know, or I'm not sure, could I, couldn't I? As soon as you put that into your brain, your abilities to do it actually change.
It is, yeah. Because your long-term memory behaves like a hard disk, and that normal hard disk does not distinguish whether it's true or not. It's just there. And if you really, if you have those talents and you like it, right, and you will be, I can, do it. You have that mindset, I can do it. The chances, and you are working hard, the chances are you will be able to do it. Absolutely. Because people are very often asking me, Jan, what were your, goals in your life and whatever. I didn't have that many goals. I like my journey. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know whether I be the president or whatever. I mean, president in the company. I don't want to be president of the country.
Why not? I can see that as the next step.
I don't want to do that. I got, enough. I love what I do. So it's like, have an open, mindset, and like, what you do. And then the things are like coming. And you have like, because very often if you are like, goals are great, right? I think you need to love your, your journey. You still can have goals like, hey, this year I wanted to launch another book. That's fine. Those process goals, but don't have it like, hey, once I will do it, I'll be happy. You will not be happy. We talk about the results. You are happy on the way. In fact, happiness is your ability to unlock your potential step by step to be more and more of who you are. Because, self-awareness is, again, not like, hey, from now on, I'm self-aware and I'll be like number one and it's great. Self-awareness is process. It's like learning the whole life, right?
Yes.
And you need to be aware of it. But if you do it like that, then the chances are that whatever you will think, you can, achieve. And again, step by step, there's a lot of people, they are like, this is the expectation is always high in our life, right? But then reality is not there yet. And a lot of people are like lowering the expectations, right? Those people who are like successful and happy, they are like, working on their reality, getting close, right? So the real masters are working on reality, getting closer to the expectation. Then there are a couple of people, Nadal, Federer, Ronaldo, Michael Jordan. They call them legends. Legends are doing those things. They are working on, reality, but then they are, stretching their expectations. You know what I mean, right?
Exactly. But I love that, because as you keep growing, I mean, look, here's the thing. If you stay stuck in caring what people think about you, if you don't really have a purpose, if you stay on your safe path, that's when you start to feel that gap. And then you go, okay, I should lower it as time goes by. I'm maybe going to have fewer and fewer dreams. If you stay on the path of what's interesting to me, what's my purpose, what am I curious about, what more can I learn, how do I connect this and this and this and this and grow new things. That's when your expectation, that's when what you're able to achieve against your expectations, you know, can raise wildly. And this is why I say the heart of self-confidence, for me, it's very important to make this differentiation, which we haven't made yet. And I make the same with respect, by the way. There's something called owed respect and earned respect. Owed respect is you're a human being, you get a level of respect. Right. And then, Jan, you're quite accomplished, you've done great things, had great impact on people, changed children's lives. Then you've earned an extra layer of respect. But every single person has a base layer of respect that they are owed. Same for self-confidence. Absolutely. I build my self-confidence over time as I have more experience, as I can trust in myself. Exactly. But there should always be a baseline level of self-confidence in who you are and what you're capable of learning. I'm not capable of learning in, you know, physics. I could do a little bit. I'm never going to be great at it. And that's okay, because I just redirect to where I can be great. And I can build my experience self-confidence in those directions. I think that's important for people to know, to stop deriving self-confidence from being good at something, someone else telling you you're good at something. It's really, there's a presence already there. Believe and trust in yourself. I can learn, I can grow, I can expand, I can, you know, rise up to my potential.
Look, I think you mentioned like education and learning and so on, right? And physics, you know. I mean, I quite like physics, and I'm like I'm like software engineer by profession, so I studied the math. Okay. Yeah. And then in reality, I was running huge businesses, you know, couple of billion US dollars, tens of the billions US dollars, you know, and so on. For that job, if I take like classical school, the math which was provided me in the third class of the basic school was enough. No, really. It's about human skills. If you are running the business, you can understand. I mean, there was a great COO Skoda like 6 years ago. We had a dinner together, and he said like, Jan, you know, you can run Skoda in 6 months and I can run Microsoft in 6 months. I said, come on, you know, you need to understand. We said, no, 90% of the job is really working with the people. And you would learn. It's a very small difference. Like, okay, you produce the cars. You don't need to know all details. It's true. And majority of the time you work with the people, with another human being. So it's a lot of about emotions and so on. But you are not getting that from the school.
Yeah.
You know, and I give you one, which is really shocking. Less and less people want to be leaders. Okay. When I started to work like 6-7 years ago with some, you know, sport clubs like football, you know, teams and so on, usually they've got like 3-4 people out of the 22-25 who can be the captains. Okay. Today, it's 1 or 2. Even in the national team, if I work with the coach, he's saying like 1 or 2 guys are really like, they are good players and they are like even like heroes and superstars, whatever. But leadership is about something different. So there's a less and less, I believe, the less and less people, because it's with leadership, there's a lot of responsibility. You are really responsible for the lives of the other people, especially in the sport. It's a little bit different because you are the captain, so you are like cheerleader and stuff like that. But if you are a leader, you are really, I mean, there are, you know, your employees, there are the families of your employees and so on. So it's not that easy. And I think that today people are really like, I want to be individual, but I don't want to have this, you know, responsibility, because it's like a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
And it's about self-confidence, because people, if you are a leader who does not have self-confidence, you are not leader, you know. Leaders are self-confident. Today, I was teaching today my class on unlocking human potential. There was a great, you know, guy from the hospital who was, when COVID started, when all of those bad pictures from Italy were coming, he established in the COVID, you know, part of the hospital. And he didn't have any experience, you know, right? He was really afraid. He said, but I could not show that I'm afraid. So I was like showing, hey, let's do it. We don't know. We will be pioneers. We are helping other people, and he managed it. It was a great. Everybody was in the room, was like listening, like watching in his mouth, because it was a great what he was, saying. He said like, I created vision. Hey, we can, help those people to survive. It's a great mission we have. Now we work very hard, whatever, right? And some of them, they got COVID and stuff like it. It was before the vaccine even, right? It was amazing what he said.
But exactly that. And right before we pull up these last questions that we have, the most important thing to remember is nobody knows all the answers. Confidence doesn't mean I'm the best and I know everything. You're not God. I mean, like, but what you can do is say, I'll go forward, I'll learn, we'll pivot when we need, we'll iterate as we need, but we can move forward and learn and grow and have the confidence to do that.
Exactly.
That's great leadership. We've got a really good question from Mika again about when does self-confidence turn to arrogance? Have you ever seen such a change that some people with constant lack of self-confidence become not confident, but straight arrogant, and their ego could not fit in the room? I've seen this phenomenon. Yes.
I would say self-confidence is about, hey, I'm self-aware and I know what I can do and what I can't do. Self-confident people are, able to talk about their deficiencies, about their mistakes, and so on. Even so, self-confident people believe, like, I think I'm self-confident, but I don't think I'm arrogant. Maybe my wife maybe will tell you something. But she's very tough with me. Sometimes when I was younger, I was sometimes arrogant. It's like we all have ego, right? You cannot avoid it. But now I don't think that's the case. So self-confidence is about like admitting your, own mistakes, where you are good, where there are some deficiencies, and so on. Arrogant people, they are like, hey, this is always right. They are usually rude also and stuff like that. And they are not very like arrogance. It has to do with your ego. Ego is about fear and about basically the threat, right? If you are threatened, you are, fearful, then you are pushing. Some people who are like very arrogant inside, they are fearful because they are missing those skills, right? If you are self-confident and you are good in what you do, you don't need to be that much pushy, because people hopefully will realize it's still good if you understand the thing to tell them, but you don't need to be like arrogant. And arrogant, I think self-confident people are like trying to get people on their side, try to coach people and stuff like that. Arrogant people are very pushy and telling that other people are stupid and stuff like that, right? So that's, I think, and you see it. Unfortunately, you see it, and you see even what is even worse, that some arrogant people are surviving in corporations, and people are saying they are good, they are tough, they are good, and it's not good. Arrogant people are very often managing by fear. If you're managing by fear, it means that you don't have confidence. If you have a confidence, you don't need to you can put people under the pressure, but you don't need to threaten them. Okay. If you are telling people, hey, it will be my way, or you go highway, you go out, then you are arrogant, and then you don't believe who you are, basically.
Yes. I just want to add on to that. You did such a nice summary. I mean, basically think of arrogance as a power game, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact that I have to try to make myself superior to some other people means that I'm not having inner self-confidence, because by nature, it's how I'm gauged against other people. And I have to be more powerful, or I have to be smarter, or I have to tell them that they're not as good. It's still a power structure. True self-confidence is just within yourself.
Exactly.
You're okay to be. You don't have to play that power game. And when you're not pushing people away and playing a power game and trying it, that's when you can truly connect with people. You can be at eye level. You can inspire them, not give them fear, but really inspire them, because you're connecting, because you feel powerful together, not power over.
Exactly. Let's go.
Next, we have from Thomas.
From Thomas. Now there are from Annika also will go. Snowflakes versus old school. Where are the borders in order to encourage others being self-aware, how you can encourage other. You can basically, what I do with the people, typically when I work with the organizations, like tomorrow I'm in one of the biggest law firms in Czech, the same on Wednesday, on Thursday. They decided to increase self-awareness and also awareness who are the other people, right? So what I will do, I will use Gallup Strengths Finder and coach them how they can use it in day-to-day jobs, more or less. In the morning, there's a theory about what is talent, what is flow, how to your job, how to put it together. But in the nutshell, what I will do, hey, this is what they need to do. This is my job description. And those are my talents. Those are my genes. This is who I am. Let's put it together. Let's marry those two. How can I use in the best way who I am to achieve what I want? Right? This is the like strategic way what you can do, right? So Anika, golf and fitness. I finally started to watch these amazing videos. Thank you very much. And apply information you are sharing, there is a continuation. As a result, today I finished T6 at the professional golf. That's great. Anika, this is it, like state of flow, and that's great. So fingers crossed, that's a great result, right? The funny thing is that we try to really do it in such way that you can apply it whether you are athlete or some artist or some business guy. You can apply all of those things. Self-confidence is general, right? There are self-confident people in the sport, in the business, and so on, right? So Mika is putting the Jan is right. The world is full of donuts who don't want to take any responsibility. That's why we need new, true, and responsible leaders with the modern positive leadership. Become a legend, not a donut. Yeah, this is true. And the people think that guys like Michael Jordan, they were like over talented. It was a genius. It's bullshit. That guy was talented, but he worked one shift more than the other guys. They trained like for 3 hours. He trained for 4.5 hours plus fitness. I was with Tim Grover for 1 month. Tim Grover was his for 15 years. Tim was his, personal coach. Okay. So, and Tim, I can recommend it to you. It's like you pay $400. There is like, 100 people on that online training, but if you are like pushy, you can get 101 with him and so on. It was great, So I learned so many things about Michael Jordan in that way, because to get to the Michael Jordan is impossible, right? But this is it. Obviously, he was talented, but he was working harder than the other guys. If you take Mike Phelps in his peak, he was training 7 years. He did not miss one day. He was training all days. Usually people got like 1 day off. He was saying in one of the interview, if you have 1 day off, it's getting another day to get, back. So he got like 2 days a week more of the training than the other guys. He got like 26, I think, if I remember it correctly, 26 golden medals, right?
Yes.
It is about talent. It's about self-awareness, but then it's about work. It's hard work, about repetition, and step by step you're getting better. That's how self-confidence is created. It's like one present moment after the other, and you can be there. Now I tell you, I have this. Now they are playing in Israel, in fact, Friday and Saturday, Davis Cup. Yuri Lehecka, that's tennis player I work with, the best Czech guy. It's like number 60 in the world now. Now, on US Open, I was really studying folks like Sinner, Alcaraz, obviously, what is in their mindset, how they do it, because they are top 10. I wanted to help to move him to the top 10. So you need to study those guys, right? He will play with them. In fact, he's like number 6 among up to 21 years old. They call it next generation. The Masters are play like total Masters, and now they are playing, it's the next generation Masters. It will be in Milan. So 8 best people up to the 21 years. Yuri is like number 5 or number 6, I think. So hopefully he will play there. So you really need to, if you want to be on such high level, you need to learn from the people who did it already, right? The problem is very often with self-confidence that you are, learning from the people who are like okay or even good. You need to learn from the best in the world, right? Because even though you are maybe not that great as them, okay, fine. But if you aim to the moon, and you miss the moon, chances are you will still end up among the stars. Okay.
That's
And
right.
this is it.
That's the self-confidence.
Think
Aim
about
high.
absolutely.
I think that's a perfect note to land on, Jan, which is everybody needs to aim higher. Don't keep yourself lower. Don't try to say, well, I don't want my expectations to not be met, so I'll do this or this. Go higher. It's better to try and fail.
Other people to define your, skills and your abilities. It's you, okay? It's not, they don't know you enough. They don't know whether you are like pushy, whether you will, do it or not. You should define yourself, and you are defined by decisions, not by environment. If you are defined by your decision, if you will decide and you will work hard and you will like what you do, you can achieve whatever you want, because you don't know exactly. Trust your genes, okay? Because you don't have anything else, right? Be yourself. Other roles are taken already. I don't know who said it, but somebody said it, all right, this is it. Trust your genes. This is it. And work hard to use those genes, because genes are your, not all genes, but some genes are your talents, right? The genes are like extra information you are getting from your predecessors. And once you do it, chances are you will like what you do. A lot of endorphin will be created. You will be very often in the flow. Flow is like basically speeding up all development. You are learning in the flow 450% faster. And this is it.
That's your confidence loop. Just keep going, fail forward, keep learning.
Okay. Guys, thanks very much. It was a very nice, discussion. Annika, again, congratulations. That's a great, you made my day, yeah, whatever it is, if some athletes or somebody else is saying, hey, you really, helped me and I succeeded. This is it. That's why we do it, right?
That's why we do what we do.
You are happy. We are happy. Okay, guys. So let's be happy. Have a nice evening. We will put it again on, YouTube and on LinkedIn. It will be recorded so you can, look at it. There are many other, videos, both in Czech and in English on the YouTube channel. We are also, some of you ask on whether we will do the podcast. We are working on that.
We're working on it. I promise.
We will do podcast. We are working on that. Okay, thanks. Good night, guys.
Take care, everyone.